It's a quest. It's a quest for fun.
Well, The Rock says, why don't we just cut right to the chase?
Okay, now he wants to get together. Well, he wants to talk.
I want you to do me a favor. I want you to tell all your friends about me.
It's showtime, folks!
What are you?
Greetings and salutations. Welcome to And I Quote, the weekly show where we introduce you to content creators of all shapes and sizes that join us from any and all corners of the nerd universe. We have friendly conversations and we take your questions. I am your host, Ryan of Nerd Culture, and our guest this week, surprise, surprise, if you are wondering how that ridiculously good-looking and electrifying intro came to be, well, this is the young man that put it together. Please welcome artist and incredible person extraordinaire, Josh Bauer of JBauerArt. Josh, welcome to the program. How are you, sir?
I'm good, man. Thank you for the awesome introduction. And I always love seeing the videos because I haven't seen them for a minute, or kind of, I get distracted and forget I work on certain things. So I see the video, I'm like, oh yeah, I totally made that.
Yes, you did. Yes, you did. And we are so grateful that you put it together for us here at Nerd Culture and for And I Quote, this particular show in general. So thank you so much for doing so. Now, if you have any questions for Josh Bauer as you go throughout the course of this show, let us know in the comments. Let us know in the live chat. We'll be taking them as they come in as best we can. Also, make sure you like and share this video with all 200 of your closest friends. They're going to like the way they look after watching or listening to this episode of And I Quote. I guarantee it. So to kick things off, Josh Bauer, how are you introduced to the world of comics?
Man, I don't even know, because it's like I've always been kind of into them. I think because I've been into them since I was very young. I think it was a lot of like cartoons and movies really got me into stuff first. I remember being a huge Ninja Turtles fan when I was a kid, and then a Power Rangers fan. And sometimes that stuff kind of leads into, there was the Spider-Man cartoon. Batman had its iconic cartoon, of course. So I think that was a lot of my first introductions were cartoons, and then that led into interest in the movies. I didn't really get fully into comics because I'm more of, when it comes to entertainment and trying to be into everything, I'm more of a visual person. Of course, I'm an artist. So, so sitting down and reading a comic all the time didn't really keep my interest enough. But watching the movies and different cartoons and stuff really caught my eye. And then later down the road, once I got into middle school, high school, that's why I kind of started paying attention to the comic books a little bit more. And I would get more of, I also don't have patience. So waiting for each individual comic to come out drove me nuts. I usually waited for the big books to come out, and I would snack those and read those. And then I've always been, when it comes to getting individual comics, I'd get the ones with the really cool covers because, of course, the art caught my attention more. And especially once I graduated and moved down to Florida, I started realizing there's individual people that make individual comic covers, and started going to conventions and learning who these different people were and figuring out what caught my attention more. It definitely cartoons was, I think, the intro drug for all this chaos.
I gotcha. And yeah, when it comes to comics, in my opinion, I prefer to have the whole story in front of me rather than having to buy 50,000 trade paperbacks or 10 hardcovers. It's like, no, I just want the whole story. And give me, if it's in an omnibus, which I'm sure you've heard that term before, I will take an omnibus over 50 hardcovers, 50 paperback, depending on what the series is, because every series has a different run. But that's just my 2 cents. Now, specifically, what would you say? Are there any favorite comic book writers or artists that stand out to you?
I always have to remember names, and I'm always terrible with them. I think cover-wise, because again, it was mostly covers. And it was a little bit when I got older was J. Scott Campbell. I really love how he draws the females and the superheroines, or however you want to name them now. But I always loved his style and the way that he did faces and just his flow of art. So those really caught my eye a lot. Man, there's another artist that I always blank on his name, and I'm actually looking at one of his covers right now because coming to you live from the art cave, so I have a good chunk of my collection all around me. So it's man, and I'm gonna remember as soon as we're done. But yeah, there, I know now looking back, like, because everybody does like deep dives into stuff on YouTube and everything. Frank Miller, I caught a bunch of like different cool stuff from them, and but yeah, it was more of influences. It was a lot of the cartoon stuff, like that first TMNT, the way Batman was made, the original animated series, and then later learning how it was all done with on the black paper, and they used black coloring more to work with what they needed, and different type of styles like that, I think really caught my attention.
Oh, there you go. And I know you mentioned some of these already, but I'm just curious, do you have any other favorite either comic book based movies or TV series, or maybe stuff that's not so comic book or comic book or book based, just stuff in general? What are some of your favorite movies and TV series in general that you may not have mentioned already?
Man, I've got so many, because I've always been a movie guy. When the guy that helped raise me when I was younger, he actually does, and he still does. He does stunts and explosions and all that stuff for movies. Yeah, so he's gotten more into it now, but when I was younger, he was getting into it, doing different stuff. So I was always paying attention to that stuff, and he would help me figure out how movies would break down and catch things. So I've always been a big movie fan. I love the Michael Keaton Batman movies. Yes. Honestly, I love all the 4 first Batman movies. I know the last 2 are campy as hell, but those are like, I was very young when Batman and Batman Returns came out. So I kind of remember that, but it was still I was still a little too young for that. But I really remember when Batman Returns and Batman and Robin came out, because I went to the movie theater and saw them. We went to McDonald's afterwards and got the toys. I had the glasses.
Yes.
My dad still has the glass. So I remember that stuff a little bit more than the first 2 movies, but those were I was really into. I loved action movies. I watched them all. I was never filtered on watching action movies, so I watched like Commando when I was way too young.
Let off some steam, Bennett. Sorry.
Yeah, I mean, every big time action guy. I'm a huge Bruce Lee fan, so I watched everything Bruce Lee as much as I could.
Be like water.
Yeah, exactly. So yeah, any action movie that came out from 1987 till now, I've tried to watch.
It's a lot.
It's a lot.
It is a plethora.
Yeah, and they don't make them like they used
No,
to.
they don't.
I've been going the last little while watching some older movies. And you don't have to think, you don't have to there's no plot twist, there's no crazy, it's just shit blowing up and people fighting. And I absolutely love it. And that's what I need more of. I don't need to question life at the end of all this. I just want some people whooping the shit out of each other.
Yeah, that's nothing wrong with that. Willow Schuyler chimes in. She says, "Good afternoon, gents. Long time no chat, Josh."
Hi, Willow. How are you? Yeah. I kind of disappeared. Put my back talk with Bauer on indefinite hiatus and started focusing on the art more. So yeah, I kind of disappeared a little bit, but I'm always around, just creeping in the background,
Don't be a stranger, Willow. Feel free to say hi to Josh and ask him a question if you have one. Once again, we're talking with Josh Bauer of JBauerArt right here on this episode of Van Dyke Quote. Make sure you like and share this video with all 300 of your closest friends. They're going to like the way they look after watching or listening to this episode. We guarantee if you have any questions for Josh, let us know in the comments. Let us know in the chat. And if you're watching us live or on the replay, thank you so much for being with us. We greatly appreciate it. With that being said, you mentioned something about action movies and whatnot. So I take it, are you a Die Hard movie fan? Do you like the Die Hard movies? And if so, isn't there a specific video game that you're obsessed over?
Yeah, I guess
concerning Die Hard, I mean.
Yeah. So yeah, I'm sorry, I had to plug my computer in. I forgot I unplugged it. Yeah, I'm a big Die Hard fan. I am. I will say, I like all of them. They're all good in their own ways. They go insane after getting into 4 and 5. The fifth one
definitely jumped the shark.
Yeah. They lost a little bit of it in the later ones, but I'm a huge fan of 1 and 3. they're anytime they're on, anytime they, I watch one anytime it's Christmas. Every year it's one of my Christmas watches, and I don't care what people say. It's just one of my traditions. And then 3 is just it's such a fun movie, and just, and it just, you get that. I miss the 90s feel of movies too. The grittiness, the not so great camera quality, and just like a different feel of colors and everything. But yeah, and then of course I was a big PlayStation kid growing up. So there was the Die Hard trilogy game. As soon as I bought a PlayStation again, I made sure to, I think I randomly came across it in one of the like reused gaming places that are in malls now. And they had it sitting right there. I'm like, mine. I love that game. It's so terribly cheesy. There's no quality to it. There's like, it's like early generation PlayStation, I think, maybe within the first year or two. Oof. And if you've never played this, it's hilarious. There's 3 different versions for each 3 of the movies.
Ooh.
So the first one is my favorite. It's based off the first movie, and you are playing. It's a very far out third person, and you're playing this little pixelated. Oh shit! Now I'm blanking on names. The Bruce Willis character,
John McClane.
Thank you. Yeah, it's been a long morning already. You're playing a third person pixelated John McClane, and you have to go through each level of the Nakatomi Tower, and you have to run around, shoot bad guys. You get guns, you get grenades, stink bombs, like all kinds of different stuff. And then you have to make sure to get even more points. You have to try to save the hostages. So, and then everything's timed, and it's so terribly funny. And he's got like all the line, and it's not even voiced by Bruce Willis, of course. It's voiced by some other guy. It's not too bad sounds, or they just stole the audio from the movie. I'm not sure which. But all the cheesy one-liners from the original movie are in it. So if you go and shoot up a bunch of stuff or explode stuff, you'll say some of the lines. And then the second one, or the second movie, is a first-person shooter, almost like the old school classic arcade ones, that you're just a little dot. And again, very pixelated, very terrible. If it moves too fast, like it gets all liney and crazy. and but it's great. And you shoot the bad guys and you go through. And I will say I have beaten both of those at least once. The first movie one is actually way harder. The second one I have made it through a couple of times. And then the third one is you're driving around in the taxi and you have to hit certain checkpoints. And then you have to find the bomb. I think you hit the bomb or something like that, and it explodes and you drive away to the next one. But yeah, if you've never played it, if you have an old school PlayStation and you can get your hands on it, I highly suggest you try it out.
That's, my goodness gracious. Terry MacGyver joins us. He says, "Who's this dude? Good to see you, Josh," says Terry.
What's up, Terry? Good to see you, sir.
Yeah, and not only that, he says, "Come on, Josh. Everyone in the game says his name. Hey, it's John McClane."
I may have to sit down because I have TikTok, of course. You can find me at JBauerArt 22, I think it is. I may have to figure out how to like live stream. That's all I want to do. Like, my brother's a TikTok streamer, gaming streamer now, and he's playing all the new stuff. I just want to play old games. I want the excuse to sit down for an hour and play the old games, and you can watch me play them, because some of them are just they were so awesome and so mind-blowing at the time when they came out.
You look back.
And now it's just like, oh, this is rough.
Yeah. And not only that, Terry MacGyver chimes in and says, "Those hockey pucks, though."
Yes, I don't know what they're supposed to be, like flash grenades or something, but they look like hockey pucks, and you throw them. And I think they do. I think they're smoke bombs, but they comes out green, so it looks like you're throwing fart bombs.
Good points, Terry.
Oh man.
Gee whiz. I will say this for you though, because I was introduced to certain things in the opposite direction. You know, I was introduced to the sequels after the original films, from this franchise already come out.
Okay.
I grew up watching Die Hard with a Vengeance, because that was the very first Die Hard film I ever saw, and that is my favorite one.
Gotcha. Okay.
I love Die Hard with a Vengeance, which is the third one. You know, starring, who is it? Bruce Willis. You got Samuel L. Jackson. You got Jeremy Irons, aka Uncle Scar. who is
That was the
just
first time like I realized who like that was the first time I seen Jeremy Irons, and
yeah.
like anytime he pops in now, like I still have that love for him because of that movie.
It's so good. By the way, Terry chimes in. He says, "Shoot the glass."
Shoot the glass. That's like you could just spend way too much time shooting the glass in that game. It's terrible.
It's probably it. I'm not.
And it
I
does
can't.
this. It's this tingly like you shoot the glass and it's like it's like it's
Really?
such a terrible noise. It's so funny.
I'm gonna have to look this up at some point or other because I haven't played this Die Hard trilogy game on play. I did have a PlayStation growing up. Don't get me wrong, but I didn't play the Die Hard game, so I can't speak to it specifically.
Okay.
But
Yeah.
what I can say is that I was introduced to Die Hard through Die Hard with a Vengeance, and then I was introduced to Terminator through Terminator 2. I didn't even see the original. I was only growing up on Terminator 2 the entire time. And then years later, as I was in college, we had this movie club at our university. And they would go to a auditorium that was on campus that had this big screen, right? It was like a lecture hall, something like that. You know what I mean? So we go into a lecture hall and we watched The Terminator that night, the original 1984 film starring Schwarzenegger, Michael Biehn, Linda Hamilton. I got to tell you, my mind was blown. And I thought that it was like the greatest thing I've ever seen. And then I went to my mom and pop store the next day and I bought it on Blu-ray for $5. And then a few years later, I had Michael Biehn, who played Kyle Reese in that movie, sign my Blu-ray.
Nice.
And I told him, I said, I love The Terminator. It is my favorite of the entire franchise. Everyone says that T2 is the best. And listen, you can have that opinion all you want. The Terminator is the best, period. It is by far and away the best of the franchise. It is one of the greatest all-time action horror films. It's one of the greatest films, period, with the shoestring budget that James Cameron and his crew had to work with at that time. In 84, okay? This is the 80s. This is like, you know, some movies had bigger budgets than others. It was very, very dark, gritty, and competitive, but it was fun to watch. So The Terminator is great. I don't know if you remember watching that at a point in your life, Josh, but the Terminator is boss. I mean, that tech noir scene in the bar is like, that's magic. You know what I mean?
So I was a lot like you. I think for some reason, I may have watched the first Terminator, but my memory and my like first impression of Terminator is Terminator 2. And I watched the movie. I played the games. I played the arcade versions of the games. And yeah, Terminator. And honestly, Terminator 2 gets such praise, I think, more than the original Terminator because it's a standard of movies all in its own. With the effects, how much they were pushing all the new visual effects. I mean, the T-1000 getting in there and doing all the liquid stuff that they did, and then still getting in practical effects and all that. And with it being a sequel too, it was basically a way to show how sequels could be done. I actually just rewatched that movie because I got an itch because I think TikTok or something had like a fun fact, and I just rewatched that within the last month or two, and just it still holds up, man. The graphics, the story, the way they shoot everything, the way that the original Terminator, Arnold Schwarzenegger's character still looks like a bad guy through a good chunk of the beginning of the movie. It's just so well done, and it's one of the few action films that can hold up to this day, I think.
Yeah, I would tend to agree with that. The movie just celebrated its 30th anniversary last year for Terminator 2 Judgment Day.
Thanks.
I know, we both feel old. It's great.
Yeah, between that and then Hocus Pocus being 29, I'm like, okay, yeah, thanks.
Yeah, we're getting there, aren't we? It's just it's a crazy thing. It's a crazy mixed world that we live in. But with that being said, so you mentioned something about the Die Hard game. I'm just curious, are there any other video games that you enjoy playing, whether they be past or present?
I'm always a big Call of Duty fan because I'm always, with being an artist, I'm always doing art stuff and constantly painting, constantly doing whatever I can to get the art moving, shaking, doing its thing. So I don't get to sit down and play a ton of times, but Call of Duty is always one where I can just sit and hop on the multiplayer for a little bit, shoot some guys, and turn my brain off for a bit. So I've always got at least the latest and greatest or second latest and greatest of that. And then another one, I was a huge fan of the new PlayStation Spider-Man. It's not new anymore. It's a few years old now, but that was one of the latest games that I've played all the way through and beat the whole story out of like the past 5-10 years. I sat down and I like all the art got put on hold and I played straight through that game because it was like playing a movie. It was fantastic. I eventually have to try to afford and find a PlayStation 5 so I can play Miles Morales and then Spider-Man 2 that's coming out. But yeah, those are two I hop on quite a bit. I just got within the last couple months, I got the remastered versions of Tony Hawk Pro Skater 1 and 2 for my Switch my Switch. Been playing with that for a little bit. I was really hardcore for Pokemon Snap for a good minute and then kind of just dropped out of it for some reason. And then what else have I been playing? I need to pick up the new TMNT side scroller game. I really want to play that. And then they remade, if we're talking old games, they remade or made a continuation of Streets of Rage. So they did Streets of Rage 4. I had to snag that because that was my favorite Sega game when I was a kid. And that was a really good game. I've beaten it at least once with one character, and that's another nice one to hop on there, turn the brain off, and just start going. So I usually take the Switch on road trips, or if we're going on vacation and we're just chilling. You know, you take breaks between all the visiting. I'll just sit there and play the Switch for a little while.
Nothing wrong with that. I should know. My niece and nephew probably have one. Hey, it's a lot of generations have either grown up with the past ones or they're getting into the newer ones. Past, present, doesn't matter. I mean, and at the end of the day here, for those of you who may be wondering, we're all children at heart. So let's just leave it at that. With that being said, Emily chimes in. She says, now I'm going to have to go back and rewatch Terminator.
Yeah, I have not watched the original Terminator in a hot minute, so maybe I'll toss that on again.
You got to go back and watch that. That film, no matter how old it gets, that film's going to hold up for me. I love that movie so much so that I have a movie poster of it. I have the Blu-ray signed by Michael Biehn. And what else do I have from that film? I think I may have another poster of it laying around somewhere. I don't know. Bottom line is I like the Terminator, okay? So just get used to it.
Just stop at 2 though.
Well, here's the hot. This is going to be a hot take for those of you here. Well, you brought up a hot take earlier with your love of all 4 original Batman movies. Let me tell you, 89 is my favorite. I like Batman Forever because it introduced a little bit of a different angle to the Bruce Wayne Batman character, and I'm fine with that. Doesn't bother me. And I've met Val Kilmer twice. Okay,
nice.
He signed my Batman Forever DVD. Okay, that means I am a fan of Batman Forever. Don't come at me in the comments. You probably will, but it's all right. Listen, we all have our likes and dislikes. I like Batman. I like Batman Forever. The other two, get out of here. Don't care for Batman Returns. I don't care. Obviously, I don't care for Batman and Robin because that is a trash show. Yeah, listen. I went back and rewatched Batman Returns, and I finally realized this is a Tim Burton movie. This is not a Batman movie.
Yeah, I guess if you're going in for a Batman movie, it's off and not right. If you're going in for a Tim Burton movie or even like a weird Christmas movie, then it's right up your alley. And that's what I always tell people with those 4 movies is what are you going in for? You know, when I watched the last 2, it's more of this weird nostalgia thing. And I remember being a kid and seeing it all. And then if you're going in for Batman and Robin just to have a drinking game or making fun of it or a good laugh, it is hilarious. Like Schwarzenegger's Mr. Freeze is just so terribly awesome. And all his bad puns, it's great.
Yeah. My passion frost for my pride alone. Anyway, just get out of here with your ice pun. He got paid like $1 million for those puns. Did you know that he got paid for $1 million for every pun that he made? So he got paid like 25-30 million, I heard.
There you go. And make your money, dude. If somebody wanted to pay me, even $1 million to do some stupid stuff on a movie, hell yes.
Josh would take the paycheck. I'm just saying. Once again, we are talking with artist extraordinaire known as Josh Bauer of JBauerArt on this episode of And I Quote. Make sure you like and share this video with all 400 of your closest friends. They're going to like the way they look after watching or listening to this episode. We guarantee it. If you have any questions for Josh, let us know in the comments. Let us know in the chat. If you are joining us live or if you're watching this back on the replay, thank you so much for being with us. We do appreciate it. Emily chimes in again. She says, we all make mistakes with Batman fandoms, Ryan. That's true, but at least I know the bad ones from the good ones. Batman Returns, bad. Batman and Robin, horrible.
Here's
Dark
what
Knight
I'll
Trilogy, say. Masterpiece. Okay?
Yeah.
The Batman with Robert Pattinson, that was good.
Okay, so I love the Christopher Nolan movies except for the third one. I can't stand the third one.
You're not the first person to say that,
yeah.
and that's okay. I like all three of them for different reasons, but if you don't like the third one, I completely understand.
Yeah, it's just not my favorite, and it was a bit of a disappointment for the build up for the other two. But I will say, like, I enjoy every little bit of Batman I can get. I'm a huge Batman fan. For those that don't know, I have the JBauerArt Batmobile. I took a 2020 Kia Soul that's all yellow and put giant Batman decals. I'm not talking just like little stickers here and there. My entire car is covered in a giant Batman design that I created myself. You can see that on my website. But we were actually having a debate a little bit at work the other day at my day job. And they're like, who's the best Batman? And I'm like, you can't choose that. You can't. It's so hard to pick the best Batman. There's certain people, there's certain characters that have played good Batman, but they were terrible Bruce Waynes. There's been great Bruce Waynes, but terrible Batman. And everybody has their own good things about them. You know, even Adam West. Adam West is, you know, you're going to get that cheesiness with it and that 60s crazy vibe. But he's loved and cherished. You know, the new Batman with Robert Pattinson, his Batman is awesome. I love his Batman, and I love the look. I love he takes a little too many two straight shots to the chest and walks away from it, and explosions to the face and walks away from it. So those are a couple of my pickiness from it. But then, like, his Bruce Wayne bothers me a little bit. But then you have to remember, his Bruce Wayne's brand new to all this.
He's only been doing it for 2 years.
Yeah, he has not created that dual personality perfectly to have that eccentric billionaire aspect.
Playboy persona.
Yeah. So, you know, if we get a second movie from him, hopefully he's built on it a little bit. And I don't want it perfect yet because I want like 3 movies from him, you know, and we get into that second one. He's a little bit better. He drops the ball a little bit here and there, or, you know, it's still a little off. But I mean, every Batman you can find good things, bad things from.
Yeah, I was going to say earlier, Adam West, hashtag not my Batman. So, but he is cherished. He has his fans. He's not my Batman. He never will be, but he does have a fan base, and I get it. It was a generational thing.
And if he pops up or somewhere, or if you're a Batman fan, if you're a fan of Batman, there's a special place for your heart for Adam West. Yeah, I think there should be, because if it wasn't for him, you wouldn't have the next thing of Batman. And that's always the same thing you could say. You know, if we didn't have Christian Bale, you wouldn't have Robert Pattinson. If you didn't have Ben Affleck, you wouldn't have this. They all build up and keep the Batman legacy going. Because if nobody shows up for it, then it stops and it's dead.
It's a fair, man, we're having a few mic drop moments here on the show. When did this started to become a Batman discussion? But even so, I do want to segue into
Batman discussion when I'm around.
I know you and I can always talk Batman because you and I are Batman fans through and through. Do not get me wrong. Josh and I, we are Batman fans. Let's be perfectly honest. But the next thing I do want to bring up for you.
Yes.
When did you decide to become an artist yourself?
So I have been messing with some kind of art in one way, shape, or form ever since I can remember, ever since I was a kid. My mom always talks about, because, you know, back in when I was younger, which I'm feeling old and aging myself as saying that, you know, I grew up as a kid without cell phones and without iPads and yada, yada. So we would go to restaurants, and the way my mom kept me entertained was she always had pen and paper in her purse. So no matter where we went, and a lot of places don't do it now, but growing up in Northeast Ohio, they always had the paper placemats at restaurants that we went to. So I could always flip it over and doodle on that and draw on it. And that's how she kept me entertained when I was a kid. And I was constantly doodling, drawing shit, messing with stuff. And then when I got into like in elementary school, I really liked the art classes, did some stuff. A couple people here and there kind of noticed that I had some talent and everything like that. And then I really got an idea of what I could do, or a decent idea of what I could do getting into middle school. There was one summer I was sitting bored at home one day, and I had these tiny little Looney Tunes stickers. And for some reason, I got it in my head. I'm like, I'm going to redraw those. And I just looked at them and drew them like 2 scales up and drew them all out and showed them to my mom. She goes, "You trace these?" I go, "No." She goes, "Yeah, you did." And I showed her the stickers. And that was another moment where it kind of clicked. It's like, okay, I can kind of do some stuff. And then when I got into high school, that's when I really got into the art. I realized that there was art classes. You could take whatever art classes you wanted. I took every art class possible in my high school. I did summer classes of gym and health so I could take more art classes during the actual school year. And I would knock out stuff and do things, and we would do like, a couple of the classes were beginning classes and they would show us how to do stuff. I would knock it out in no time. And I come from a family that is very talented with art. My dad's mom, extremely talented. She used to do some really good stuff. My dad was really good. He kind of stopped focusing on it and focused on other work, but he did some awesome stuff. So, and that's always what kind of been motivating me, is to continue doing that. So got through high school. I did, there was senior studio, and they're like, you need 10 pieces for your senior studio. I did 20. Some kids barely got their 10. They had the small, because you had like a senior studio class, and you would set up all this, or you had to do like an actual art show. That was like my very first art show. And kids have like, they're either sharing tables or they have just a little bit on a table. I had my own section. I had 2 tables, and the whole table was covered. It made one big table. There was stuff hanging on the walls and everything. And then after high school, I was kind of burnt out because I did like too much. Moved down to Florida, like right before I moved down to Florida, kind of got back into it a little bit. Moved down to Florida in 2008, and I was like 20. I started realizing that there's Comic Cons. We didn't really have a lot at that time around me. So I went to MegaCon, one of the biggest ones down here in Florida. And I got to meet, there was that local artist section, or the unsigned artist section, whatever you want to call it. And I'm talking to people, and not downgrading anybody's stuff, but I was doing some stuff. I'm like, I could do this. I could make this. I could create some stuff that I think people would dig and everything. So I talked to some artists. I'm like, how do you get into this? Like, is it, they're like, you just fill out paperwork and pay your thing and you're in. I'm like, what? So about 6 months later, I started doing my first shows, and been going now 8 or 9 years straight of just evolving and doing different stuff.
Wow, goodness gracious. Now that is amazing. Thank you for sharing that with us. What would you say are some of the biggest rewards about being an artist? What do you think?
It's hard to say sometimes, because we're doing it for so long, and the last few years have been interesting and a little rough on me here and there, because the art has not picked up as much as I would hope it would. But there are, and I have to sit back and remind myself of some of the stuff that I have been able to do and the experiences I've been able to have. And if I didn't do this art, I wouldn't have had them. I've got to meet some really cool people and show them my artwork and give them the art. Let me see if I can tilt you up a bit. So that that guy right there is a painting I did a few years back, and it was the original painting's like 30 some inches by 40 some inches. That poster there I printed it for myself, and I made it a goal to meet all the original Power Rangers and get it signed by them. And I have got to meet every original Power Ranger that is still alive, of course. And then some of the second generation ones. And I have gotten to meet all these people, talk to them. They loved my work. Jason David Frank I idolized him as a kid. And he was super into it, and I got pictures with him. I got to meet my very first crush of being a child, the original Pink Ranger,
Amy Jo Johnson.
Amy Jo Johnson. So I've got to meet cool people like that and either give them my work or have it signed by them. I have another poster on the other side of my room that is signed by all the original voice actors from the original TMNT cartoon. And got to talk to them, and it's always cool because I'm a weird artist. I have, social anxiety. I have issues. So I'm not a person that goes, look at my art, look at my art, look at my art. I'm more of like, I go and like, hey, would you mind signing this? And like, I remember with the TMNT guys, they're like, oh, I haven't really seen this before. Where did you get it? I'm like, oh, I created it myself. They're like, what? I'm like, I painted all 3 or all 4 of these and then made them into one big print. And they're like, oh, that's spectacular. That's awesome. So that's been some cool stuff. And then there's other ways too, where I've got, I don't have a ton of money. I have a decent job. I'm able to pay my bills. The art lets me go and do some fun stuff, go on some vacations and yada, yada. But I try to use my work in good ways. And I love donating paintings or donating a basket of art to help raise money for something. Or I've done live paintings where I'm painting something and that painting's getting auctioned off to help police officers, like fundraisers for a specific police officer, fundraisers for firefighters, all
First
kinds of stuff like
responders.
that.
Yeah.
First responders, people that are just down on their luck. I've been able to go and do stuff like that. And it's that cool way of using my talent to give back in any way I can. And then even some stuff, there's other ways where, I kind of just do my thing. And it was a few years ago. It's September, I think, is Suicidal Prevention Month, if I'm correct. I did a post basically saying it was something with putting up like suicide stuff and getting the word out there. And it was just a simple post to me. Nothing crazy, nothing like I didn't think I was going to change the world. And somebody commented on there, like, basically I was their inspiration, with what I do and how I get going and sharing this. And they were very inspired with all the stuff that I do. And I'm just like, I'm just a goofy dude that does paintings and, tries to sell them. So there's stuff that just randomly pops up like that. Or I'll meet a young artist that's at a random show and they're like, how do you get into this? And I tell them and, practice and talk to people and get your stuff out there. And they're totally inspired by me. And that's another small reward that just kind of blows my mind.
100%. Absolutely. Once again, we're talking with artist Josh Bauer of JBauerArt right here on this episode of And I Quote. Make sure you like and share this video with all 500 of your closest friends. And if you have any questions for Josh, let us know in the comments. Let us know in the chat. Whether you're watching this live, if you're watching this on the replay, thank you so much for being here. Going back to what you said earlier about one of your paintings, specifically the Power Rangers one, Emily chimes in with the hashtag Power Ranger Dream Come True.
Oh, yeah. I actually, we had the red, blue, and black Power Ranger at Ranger Stop Con. I think it was one of the first or second years. And I'm sitting there at my booth and I have the original painting with me. And it's this beast of a painting. And I see Austin St. John walking down our aisle. And he's just walking around, checking everything out. And again, this is one of the guys I grew up with. I was a huge red Power Ranger fan until the green Power Ranger came. But he stops at my booth and he's like, "Did you paint that?" I go, "Yeah." He goes, "That's amazing. That is really cool." And we talked for a little bit. He was super into it. And, I'm just like, yeah, I'm cool. I'm very happy now. Like I don't care what happens the rest of the day. I'm totally fine with it. It was very cool meeting everybody else. I had to go to, I went to Tampa Bay Comic-Con to meet Amy Jo Johnson. And then I went, actually it was Lexington Con or Lexington Con, the one that you and I met at.
Lexington Comic-Con. You and I were there. Yeah.
That's where I met Jason David Frank. So yeah, it's stuff like that's been very cool. I also got to meet, it was the storyboard artist for Jaws at one convention.
Wow.
And got to chat with him for a little bit. That was really cool. And I didn't know who I was talking to. And one of my artist friends, like who introduced me, she goes, "Yeah, he's the storyboard artist for Jaws." I'm like, oh. And I kind of got like flabbergasted a little bit. I'm like, so that was really cool. Oh, excuse me. And then I got to meet, I'm very sorry about that.
Okay.
Then I got to meet the guy that designed R2-D2. And I actually have a print of my R2-D2 that I painted signed by him. And then I think 6 months or to a year after he passed away. He was a very nice guy. He actually shared my artwork on his page. Very cool to meet him. Very nice guy. I think he even, he wanted one of the prints that I made. So I gave it to him and it was very cool.
Wow, that is incredible. That is incredible stuff. My goodness gracious. On the other side of the fence, what do you say are some of the biggest challenges about being an artist?
There's a lot. And it's one of the biggest challenges is the ability to keep going. And that is what I have been fighting with over the past, I want to say 4 to 5 years. Um, I have been fighting, I have depression, anxiety, and, things like that. And I have been trying to focus on getting my life in order, doing different things, I got a new job last year and yada, yada. But trying to deal with that plus be an artist is very hard. Because no matter how good your art is and how much you work and how good you do and all the stuff you do, what you think is right, you still may not make sales, or you may not be at the part that you want to be at, or kind of sometimes I sit here looking at 8 to 9 years of busting my butt doing this stuff. And I look back and going, I'm kind of still where I was, so many years ago, and it hasn't been moving. But you got to sit there and just keep kind of pushing and, find the good things, and kind of some of the stuff, just talking to you with the cool experiences I've been able to have, I'm kind of going, okay, yeah, I would have never met this person. I would have never been able to do this, gone to this, been to here. So it's a lot of work. But just trying to find the good things of everything. And, this year's been weird when it comes to sales. And I've talked to some other artists here and there, and talked to people that run like the Deviant Wolf Brewing art shows and the Hourglass art shows. Sales are down all around because stuff is ridiculously expensive right now. I mean, for a while it was, you had to choose between eating and getting gas. And some people may still be in that boat. So to go and drop 200 and some bucks on a painting really isn't the thing right now. So I'm constantly, and I think other artists would agree too, the other hard thing is evolving and changing up your art. I just had long conversations in the last couple of months because I felt like I've hit a bit of a stalemate, and people are like, well, maybe you should walk away from painting so much and try to focus on some digital stuff. Do, Twitch emotes and do, this or that, and try to evolve your art. And that's always hard to do because I love painting. I love, that's kind of where I want things to go, but it's not always up to you. You kind of have to evolve or die. So constantly doing that, constantly keeping things refreshed and all that good stuff. It's a lot of work. And sometimes I kind of just walk away from it and take a breath and go, I'm going to go not do anything for a weekend. And I think another thing too, which I have been with all this learning, the depression, the anxiety, the therapy, is finding a work-life balance. Especially with having a full-time job, having the art as a second job, and having a wife, and then plus your own alone time. It is finding this work-life balance. So, if anybody's just getting into this, find that balance, because you're gonna burn yourself out real quickly, and that's what I did. For a good 5 years straight, I just did everything, anything I could do, any event I could do, any Comic Con. I painted every night, and there was quite a few years that I would produce a few hundred paintings a year. And this year I'm at 20. And there's a part of me that number bugs me a bit. It's like, oh, it should be way more. Last year was like 50 something. It should be up to there. Fighting the depression and trying to get myself right has been a little bit of the mix, but I'm also producing better quality stuff. I am taking my time, and I am not just cranking stuff out to have it out. And more people are digging what I'm doing now and seeing the quality be higher than what I was doing when I was doing a few hundred in a year.
Mm-hmm. My goodness gracious.
Yeah, it's really finding that balance. And that would be my biggest thing is finding that balance while you get into it. Work your butt off here and there, find some time to work your butt off, but then take that break, go for a ride, go enjoy some time, go on that family vacation, and there's a little regrets here and there for how much I worked in my mid-20s, where I didn't go and visit some people as much as I should have. So now I'm trying to be vigilant of that and take more time to go visit family and to go on vacations and go with my wife to some random concert in the middle of the hills in Virginia. You know, so I take that time and make sure that I'm still living life.
Well said, kind sir. Well said. We're talking once again here with Josh Bauer of JBauerArt right here on this episode of And I Quote. Make sure you like and share this video with all 600 of your closest friends. And if you have any questions for Josh Bauer, let us know in the comments. Let us know in the chat. If you're watching this live or on the replay, thank you very much for being with us. Mar V chimes in. He says, greetings. I think that the most difficult thing for an artiste is to create an audience.
Yeah. It's, again, I've been doing this 9 years or 8 to 9 years. And I still don't feel like I have an audience. There's a decent social media audience that's out there. My Instagram's pretty good. And there's the usual suspects of names that I see. But it does
I understood that reference.
There's not a huge growth in it. I'm right now live on TikTok. And when we started, there was 50 some people watching. Now it's down to 1. And there wasn't a ton of comments and stuff. But there is trying to get that audience. And I think social media has helped, but also hurt to try to get that audience, because a lot of the times it feels like you're shouting into a cave and it just echoes. And once in a while you'll hear this little hi back. But a lot of times you don't get much back and it's rough. But there are certain people, and it's always funny. I'll get in with some people or somebody will pop out of the blue and buy something or comment or something. And they'll be like, oh, I've watched everything. I've seen you do this and this and this. But I never see their name pop up. I'm like, how do you see it? And the worst thing I hear is, well, I don't want to like it too much. I'm like, I need you to like it. I need the algorithm, please. But then I'll go up to Ohio and visit family and they'll go, are you still doing art? I'm sorry, what? Oh, I haven't seen much. I'm like, okay, yes, I still kill myself to do art every day. But there's those hardcore people that are awesome and they support everything you do. They come in when they can, they share when they do, and I love every single one of them. Hopefully you guys know who you are, and I greatly appreciate it.
Absolutely. And Marv has more things to chime in here. He says, in regards to some of the things you were saying about earlier, whether it be advice and things like that, that's the spirit. Marv also says that I had a burnout in last year and I had to slow down a bit.
Yes. I mean, that's honestly why I stopped the Back Talk with Bauer podcast, because I was doing too much. And in all honesty, the art sales were doing really good. They like all of a sudden kicked off last year. And I'm like, interviews or money?
Where are we going with this? No, I think I know where you're going. No, it's a fair point. And Emily chimes in regards to everything you've said thus far. She says, amazing story. Thank you for sharing, Emily says.
Of course, Emily. I'm happy to share. And I think there's a lot of stuff out there, and I've had to watch myself too, there's a lot of stuff out there where everybody shows it's the hustle, it's the work, it's the, don't sleep, don't eat, don't breathe, just work. That's cool. That's awesome. It may get you somewhere down the road. I did it. Yeah, I'm still kind of where I am, which isn't a bad thing. But you really have to sit back and take even some small times and just live life. Go to a concert. There's a lot of hard things, and it's a little hard for me to talk about, but my father-in-law passed away a couple years back now. And ever since he's passed away, both my wife and I have sat back and went, we got to start enjoying life and doing our things and stop focusing on work. And I really beat myself up a little bit here and there because I did not go to the family cabin as much as I should with them. I did not go up to Ohio and see them as much as I should. I missed out on a lot of good spending time with my father-in-law that I'm going to regret for a very long time. And I don't want to do that again. I refuse to sit back and have that regret anytime again. So I make sure to, with my dad and my stepmom and brothers that are up in Ohio, I make sure that we get together at least once a year or once every 2 years. Yeah, it's a little hard with money and stuff, but I make sure to go and spend time with them. I make sure that my wife sees her family and we get time with them. I live with my mom, so I can see her every day, but I make sure we live with each other, but we're in passing a lot. So I make sure her and I go out to a lunch or go out to a breakfast or spend a Saturday together. Because I do not want that regret ever again. So it's finding that balance is the key in life, and work hard, bust your butt, and you may get somewhere. But make sure you're enjoying life too. I'm 34, and I'm kind of like, it's time to take a little breather, go to do some more stuff, and go have some more fun here and there.
Bold words. No, very kind. No, and very. Very good stuff. And once again, we are with all due respect, our thoughts and prayers go out to your family. Sorry for the loss of your loved one, but you're making the most of the time that you have. Someone we had here on this very program on, and I quote, months ago, his name is Glenn B. Fleming. He's a writer, and he's from the UK. He's overseas, and he said, "We are here for a good time, not a long time."
Yep.
So
exactly,
you got to make the most of the time that you have. If you need to take a break, take a break. Because what we've learned, if we have learned anything as a society in these last 3 or 4 years during the course of this pandemic, mental health is more important than it's ever been. So if something isn't right, something isn't seeming to go your way, you got to take a minute and take a step back and say to yourself, okay, because things move at life moves at 1,000 miles an hour. You got to learn to slow it down, take a deep breath and say, look, I have friends, I have family I haven't seen in a long time. Let's just hang out. Let's shoot the breeze. Grab a bite to eat. As Josh was pointing out earlier in this segment or this part of the program, you said it yourself, Josh. Spend as much time with your loved ones as you can because we're here for a good time, not a long time. So,
yeah. And the pandemic, like my wife and I are a bit on the hermit side, so we don't like going out a ton. But even during the pandemic, we were like getting a little stir crazy because we really couldn't go out a lot and do all of our. We're foodies. We go out and eat and stuff. So, now that things are a bit more opened up, and I live in Florida, so we've been wide open for a while. We're taking advantage and going back to finding those small mom and pop food places and eating and enjoying that again, because we really missed it.
Good times. Marvy says that Glenn B. Fleming is awesome. Well, thanks for bringing that up, Marvy, and thank you for being here. Appreciate it, 100%. That being said, any other special memories for you, whether you're being at art shows or whether you're being at other events, whether you are there as an attendee or whether you are there as a vendor? Any other memories stand out to you?
Man, I got so many. One of my favorite ones that we tell people nowadays, because even in the 7-8 years I did conventions between, I think I started in 2010ish and went for a good 6-7 years. The conventions changed a lot from the beginning to when I was done doing them. And we went to, there's one down here near Orlando. It's called Spooky Empire. And we went when they were still on the smaller side. I think it was like a 1-day one. And the original Boondock Saints were there. The brothers and then Rocco were there. And we got to meet each of them. We only spent like $20 on autographs and signings. And we got to chat with them a little bit, tell them how much I love the movie, talk to them and have great pictures. So like, that's one of those hardcore memories I always remember and love telling people. It's like, I got to meet all those guys before, one went into Walking Dead and got super big and you can't even get his autograph anymore.
Norman Reedus, if I remember correctly.
Reedus, yes. So there's stuff like that. There's special little surprise ones. We were at Sci-Fi Bartow, and it was when I was doing the live painting stuff. And I was live painting with one of the musicians, and I created the Batman Jack the Ripper painting live on stage. And it was after the show, somebody commented on one of the photos or messaged me or something, and they wrote this paragraph. And they're like, we were just sitting there. We sat down to enjoy the music and we saw you start the painting. And we were just sitting there eating, kind of chatting, a little bit paying attention. And all of a sudden we look up and you're done. And you created this amazing piece that just blew our minds. And we couldn't understand how somebody could do all that in that short amount of time. So stuff like that's always super cool. Getting going on stage and causing problems with hanging with Web Show and different groups like that, and chatting. And I always every time I show up, I always cause chaos, which is fun for me. So going in there and I love going on podcasts and saying things that normally people won't say, and kind of just getting that, like, he just went there, and yeah.
Oh, we're going there. I wonder how Garrett and Sage and everyone else feels about that. That'd be interesting.
Yeah, I always love throwing Garrett for a loop when I would come around, because it's just, and I'm also a person that sees things way differently than most people, and I'll catch
You
certain
think?
things. Yeah, just a wee bit. And
yeah.
So trying to think of any other really cool times. Got to meet some wrestlers here and there. So that was cool. One of them, it was like Space Coast Comic Con or something like that.
Sure.
I was there and Kevin Nash was there.
Oh.
So I got to, and I was actually selling at that one. So I got to go. Oh yeah. I got to go and I met him, sat down with him, got a picture, got his Wolfpack attire action figure signed. Really cool. And then that was really cool. And then a little bit later, because you got different rooms and everywhere, and you walk in through doors and stuff. And he and I were both going around the corner at the same time, and I almost ran like straight into Kevin Nash. And I don't even think the top of my head went to his chest. I just see this wall of a person, and I look up. I'm like, oh hey. He's like, and we kind of both stopped at time, but he kind of like, was making sure. He's like, oh, I'm sorry about that. You good? I'm like, yeah. I'm like, Jesus Christ, you're tall. And then my wife has a similar story at one of the shows. She actually straight up ran into James Marsters from that played Spike in Buffy the Vampire Slayer.
Oh yeah, you also played Brainiac in Smallville. Yes,
exactly. And we are big Spike fans. We love James Marsters, and they actually collided a bit. And he stopped, and he's like, "Oh, I'm so sorry. Are you okay?" And like my wife tells me, she's like, "I got a little flustered."
It's Spike after all.
Yeah.
So,
yeah.
I met him too a number of years ago in Philadelphia. James Marsters, very nice guy, very nice
awesome guy.
Loves his fans. He loves hearing from us, because I asked him. I said to him, "What was it like being on?" Like he's like, "I loved you on Smallville. You did a great job as Brainiac. What was your experience like? Any other like specific memories you remember from the set?" And he says to me, "Do you want to know how I got the part?" I said, "Yeah, I would love to hear how you got the part. Yeah, because I don't know this stuff. Like I don't know." And he says, "Well, I was watching the show when it was originally airing, right? And he liked what he saw, and he said, I contacted the creators of the show, which are Al Goff and Miles Miller, and I said, I really like your show. I want to be on there. Do you have a part for me?" And they were, taken aback by that. And they're like, "Yes, we could write you a part for this show. Are you kidding me? Like, you're James freaking Marsters. Of course we would offer you a part." So he got original, and then in the end, as you saw on the footage, he got the part of Brainiac, and he did a fantastic job as Brainiac.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, he was awesome.
He's great. So he's a very nice person if you have an opportunity to meet with him at a convention. But sorry, you were saying that your wife bumped into him and she was...
Oh, yeah. She got all flustered, but had a nice little moment with him, and he was very kind and made sure she was good. So, yeah, that's like one of her favorite memories of all the convention stuff. And then I think we met him at that show, and I actually have a comic signed by him that is Spike and Drusilla, because I always like getting unique stuff signed. And I found this comic, and I didn't know much about it. And I go and show it to him. He goes, "Oh, I don't see this too often." And I'm like, "Really?" He goes, "Yeah, I actually, myself and then the woman that played Drusilla helped write it." And I'm like, "No way." He goes, "Yeah." So I have that signed by him, which is very cool. Very happy that I have that piece. And then I've got to meet, because again, I'm a big cartoon fan. I've watched tons of cartoons when I was a kid. So I've got to meet voice actors. And for a little while, I was painting. Here, let me grab one real quick so I can show you.
Sure. Once again, we are talking with artist Josh Bauer of JBauerArt on this episode of Van Dyke Quote. Make sure you like and share this video with all 700 of your closest friends, because they're going to like the way they look after watching or listening to this episode of Van Dyke Quote. We guarantee. If you have any questions for Josh Bauer, let us know in the comments. Let us know in the chat. We would love to hear from you. And if you are watching this live or on the replay, thank you so much for being here. Josh, what do you got for us?
So these are one of my mini canvases. They're 8x10s. And I used to paint a bunch of these. This is how I would hit the hundreds or a couple hundreds years ago. But I'd paint a bunch of these and sell them. But then I started doing, when I would go to a convention, I would see what voice actors are going to be there. And I would start painting mini canvases just for myself. I wouldn't spray them. I wouldn't put the varnish on. I'd take them with me, and then I would go meet the voice actor and have them sign it for me. So I have a collection of like 5 of these, and then I have a couple other ones that are like prints that I've gotten signed by guys. But it was always cool going and taking these to the voice actors because it was stuff they never saw before. I got to tell them a little bit about my artwork and get like a little bit more longer conversation with them. So these were always really cool. I've got to meet, of course, the voice actor for Doug, Rocco, Azula, Sam from Danny Phantom, and then Darkwing Duck, Jim Cummings. And that one was hard because I have seen a couple of videos with Jim Cummings of like all the voices he's done. That man has done my entire childhood. So I got to get one. I ended up choosing Darkwing Duck and got that signed by him. And he was so nice, so cool. He loved the artwork. He thought it was very neat. And I will cherish those memories forever.
Absolutely. And I've met Billy West. I have met Jim Cummings twice. He's done hundreds and hundreds of thousands of voices. I mean, the guy's probably voiced like 500,000 characters. It's ridiculous. Check out his IMDb page. It's probably 60 miles long.
Oh, yeah.
He's a boss. He actually did a Darkwing Duck voicemail on my phone.
Oh, nice.
When I met him years and years ago at Lexington Comic-Con in Lexington, Kentucky.
Yeah, I could probably have an entire wall dedicated to all the characters that I love of him.
Let's be perfectly honest. I think you and I both could, considering we grew up on around the same shows, around the same time. Let's be perfectly honest. That is some good stuff. Thank you for sharing that with us. That's a great 8x10 canvas, too. I really like those 8x10s that you put together years ago. Yeah,
they were a lot of fun to do. I do miss doing them a little bit. The only thing that was one of those things where I was kind of, the artwork was good, but it could have been better. And I was cranking out so many. So I had 50 more for the next convention, 50 more for the next convention. And it was becoming like a mass production kind of thing. So I think it was kind of losing some of the quality. And then the other thing too is, even if it's a small painting, you're still putting on a lot of work into it. But I could only sell those for like $20. And even people were kind of scoffing $20 for that. I'm like, it's an original painting. Like, it's not, this is a one and done. Sometimes I'll go and make copies of them, but they're the paper prints. It's not even on canvas.
That's a fair point. It's a fair point. Now, to share something with you, and for those of you who may be watching or listening to this, I will describe this as it comes up here on the screen. We're looking at an image here of past works done by Josh Bauer. So, Josh, the question is, how long does it take to put something like these together, and what is the process like putting these together? What are these? Are these prints? Are these canvases? What exactly are we looking at here?
So the crazy thing is they're all different types of canvases. So all of them except for the Darth Vader are acrylic or like actual canvas paintings. They're the full-size paintings. The Darth Vader is a comic cover that I painted on. I've done a few of those here and there. Here, I'm going to show TikTok real quick what we're talking about so they see. I don't know if they can see it. I can't see backwards. But yeah. So it just depends on the canvas size. All the ones that are like the tall, skinny ones, that's my normal size, which is 12 by 36. That's like my signature size. Some of those have taken, a couple weeks. Others have taken, I think the Dark Mark one took like 6 hours or so, because a lot of it was done with spray paint, paint markers, and a little bit of acrylic paint in here and there. The big one at the top corner, which is the X-Wing, that beast took a few weeks. That was a very long one, because that canvas by itself is 24 inches by 48 inches. It is a huge canvas. And it took a decent amount of work, because I didn't go super detailed, but there's enough detail to take a minute. And then something like which I actually love it. It was so cool how it came out, but it ended up selling for too cheap. The Nintendo controller, that was actually a live painting over at Kingdom of Comics for a video game night.
Oh, wow.
And I painted that live in like 2 hours in front of a bunch of people. And then we auctioned it off, and alcohol was involved, and it sold for $2 less. But, we made the drunk person happy and not mad. So, but Darkwing Duck is one of my favorite ones out of that one. That was an idea stuck in my head. It was actually supposed to be for a cartoon show at Deviant Wolf, but ended up selling beforehand. But it came out great. You can get that one, the Lego one, the Dark Mark, the Sega, Master Chief, and the City, all as bookmarks now at JBauerArt.com.
And speaking of which, the next image I'm going to bring up here is a bit of a close look. What is it? Extreme close up. Wow. So this is a image here for those of you maybe listening. This is an image here of a Sega Genesis controller featuring the Sonic the Hedgehog video game from Sega Genesis. So this isn't a print. You said you've made a bit of a different swing here, and you're segueing into making things as maybe not so much prints anymore, but you're focusing on bookmarks. Is that it? Yeah.
So they're either they're officially bookmarks, or I've been trying to tell people that they are mini pieces of art. I got a little tired of the conventions and stuff of people telling me that they didn't have room for the big prints. Oh, I don't have the room. So with the current style of canvas that I'm doing, it works perfectly for bookmarks, and it really doesn't work for the traditional prints anymore. So my buddy Jeremy, who runs these art shows over at Hourglass Brewing, he's like, "You ever thought of bookmarks?" I'm like, "No." So I started doing them, getting a couple orders here, or ordering a few different styles here and there. They're freaking awesome. They look amazing. And this is what an actual bookmark will look like. This is, like we said, this was for a video game art show over at Deviant Wolf. And I had a little bit of a hard time coming up with something. And all of a sudden something clicked in my head of, this is basically my view as a kid playing old school Sega. You had the TV, the old school television, sitting on top of a old crappy bookshelf. You had the Sega system sitting behind it, the Ninja Turtle sitting next to it, a couple of loose games that you lost the cases for next to that. Underneath is the boxes for the games, the old school game art. There's actually a Furby and a troll hidden behind the controller. You can see the hairs popping up a little bit. And I really love this painting because if you can't see it here, and I think you might be able to see it on the bookmarks a little bit, but definitely the painting. If you look at the art on the boxes of the video games, I actually recreated the logos the best I could, and they came out really sharp. See you later, Marv. Thanks for popping in. But yeah, they were. I went through, and I even got like the little white lines on the black boxes.
Sure.
Just lightly into there. And man, that painting was so cool. I was happy bummed because it actually sold right at that art show that I was at. Wow. So sadly, I didn't get to take it anywhere and show it off. But man, that was one of those pieces that I was really proud of. But you can go and get that bookmark and so many more at JBauerArt.com. And actually, I'll announce it on here because I haven't announced it on my social media page yet. I'm sure you have saw that I have been working on a new art shop that is fully integrated into my website. That is all done now, ready to go. And you can now go to JBauerArt.com and it will keep you in my website. It's not a third-party website anymore. And there's a nice art shop. There's a print shop, a bookmark shop, and a painting shop. But it's all nice and streamlined. If you see any bugs, let me know. Give me a shout out. I greatly appreciate it because I do it all myself. And the art shop side of my website is new. So I think I got most of the bugs out, but it looks really cool and really sharp. And I can't wait for people to see it. And hopefully it'll get some more sales and some more interest going.
Well, I think I speak on behalf of myself and anyone who may be watching or listening to this when I say,
Yes! That's awesome!
And it's a lot more streamlined now too. If you guys have, I'm sure you have been in my old shop. It's a little hard to get through it, and it's just this one big like scrolling thing, or you have to hit next on certain stuff. and it shows whatever it wants to. But now there's different sections, and then you can click into the section that'll take you to a secondary page, and then you can scroll a little bit easier. There'll be sorting stuff, and it should be a lot better now.
Well, that's just fan-flippin-tastic. Thank you so much for sharing that with us. Once again, we are talking with Josh Bauer of JBauerArt right here on this episode of And I Quote. Make sure you like and share this video with all 800 of your closest friends. They're going to like the way they look after watching or listening to this episode of And I Quote. I guarantee it. If you're watching this live or on the replay, thank you so much for being here. I do want to let you know, Josh, that this episode of And I Quote is indeed powered by Pod Decks. Pod Decks, that's right. Yeah, you remember the decks of the Pod Decks. I'll tell you something. Pod Decks are the hottest new tool for podcasters looking to have more meaningful conversations or gamify their podcast. You simply shuffle them up, you ask a question, and you let the content roll. Get yours today at poddecks.com. Use that promo code Ryan10. That is Ryan10, RYAN10 for 10% off your order. You're not going to want to miss out on that, Josh. A familiar face is in the building. It's Pod Decks, my friend. With that being said, if there was a sandwich that was named after you, what would be on the sandwich?
Man, so my favorite sandwich, and I change it up a little bit here and there, just depending on my mood. But usually it is potato bread, and then it's you take ham and you fry that up with mushrooms and onions. Put some garlic pepper. Or garlic powder, onion powder, maybe a little bit of pepper on there. And then you toss that on the bread with some honey mustard. And now I'm a big ketchup fan, so I toss in honey mustard and ketchup. And that is my go-to sandwich. I absolutely love it.
Ooh. Okay. Good stuff, man. Good stuff. By the way,
Cal Nunez?
Kyle says, hello there. In his Obi-Wan Kenobi voice, I'm sure he says, hello there. What's up, my dudes? Kyle, good to see you, kind sir. Hope things are going well for you in your neck of the woods. If you have any questions for Josh, let us know in the comments. We're happy to hear from you or anyone else who may be watching or listening to this at this particular moment.
I want to know how many devices Kyle Nunez has, because he's on here, and then he just popped up on my TikTok too.
I
just see this like giant operation of phones and stuff.
Devices. Either technological devices, mobile devices, something like that. I'm not sure.
Yeah.
Kyle, let us know in the chat. Answer Josh's question. And by the way, for those of you who may be wondering about these Pod Deck questions, let us know. If you had a sandwich named after you, what exactly would be on the sandwich? Or with any of the other questions that are going to be presented here in just a moment. With that being said, Josh, who'd play you in a movie?
Oh, man, I don't even know.
Miles Teller, maybe? No, I'm kidding.
I don't know actors as well as I used to. It'd have to be like somebody bald because I don't have hair.
Bruce Willis, maybe? No, I'm kidding.
There we go. He would have the anger down pretty well. But he's I can be funny at times, and sometimes his funny's kind of scary. So I don't know. Bruce Willis might work, especially now that he's got the digital version of him out there. Man, I don't know. I'm never good at that stuff. Trying to pick a person.
All right.
Yeah, I got nothing.
Okay, it's okay.
I think it'd be better if I was a cartoon or something.
Well, Kyle Nunez says, I'm just using two devices at this very moment. He says, I'm using my phone and my Mac.
Right.
That's what he's using. So he's using his phone and his Mac. So we'll just leave it there. Which band or artist, dead or alive, would play at your funeral?
Oh, damn. I'm a big music fan, so I love a bunch of different music. Right off the top of my head, it would either be AC/DC or Shinedown. Those are the two that popped in first. I've been a big AC/DC fan for years now. But Shinedown's one of my wife and I's go-to bands whenever, and then anytime they come into town, we have made it a rule that we go and see them. They're like, we can't see them enough. I think she's on number 7 of seeing them, and I'm on number 4 or 5. So we always try to catch them when they put on an amazing show. If you're even a Shinedown fan, go to one of their shows. No matter where they go, no matter what they are, even if they're doing a small set, they just put on a spectacular show and make you feel like the most important audience. And especially if it's a big show, fireworks, pyro, everything. Oh man, it makes great songs even better.
Fair point. Fair point. Kyle Nunez chimes in. Who would play at their funeral? He says Michael Jackson or the band known as Queen.
Queen, that would be a good one. That'd be a really good one. I'm a big Queen fan.
Favorite
My
Queen
wife
song?
definitely.
You have a favorite?
I have a "We Will Rock You's" always a favorite.
Yeah, Mighty Ducks, baby. Mighty Ducks.
Mighty Ducks. Mighty Ducks. A couple other movies here and there.
Yep.
Another
Mighty
one,
Ducks
Bites
for
the
sure.
Dust, is a good one.
Mm-hmm. That's played a lot in different venues.
Yeah.
Another one, Bites the Dust.
And there's even some that just like kind of pop in and you almost forget and you're going, oh damn, I forgot about this one. It's I grew up when I was being raised, the guy that does the movie stuff, he raised me on a lot of old school music. So like a lot of kids were liking different stuff. For my good half of my childhood, I was Kiss, I was, all the old bands, Alice Cooper, this and that. And I didn't get into newer music until maybe middle school, high school, and I started getting into more stuff. But yeah, I'm a big old school. I actually just got to see Kiss and Alice Cooper live not too long ago. It was my second time for Kiss and first time for Alice Cooper.
My goodness. By the way, Kyle Nunez says, "Don't Stop Me Now."
Oh, yeah, that's another sneaky one.
Yeah, it is, isn't it?
Mm-hmm.
That's a good one. We'll sit here and hang with you with Alice Cooper. We're not worthy. Sorry, that's a Wayne's World quote because Alice Cooper does make an appearance in the first film, not the second. The second one was Aerosmith. I like both films for different reasons. Some people don't like Wayne's World 2 for some reason. I'm like, how can you not like Wayne's World 2? It's hilarious.
I like parts of Wayne's World 2, but like to sit there and watch a whole movie, I prefer one.
That's understandable. And I completely, by the way, the whole sponsorship thing.
Yeah, I love that.
All the weird spot, like they're pulling out Pizza Hut, the Doritos. Yes, and it's the choice of a new generation. Pepsi and Nuprin, which is a headache medicine, I believe, from back in the day. If anyone knows what I'm specifically talking about, feel free to go on another site after this and check out YouTube. Just type in sponsorship for Wayne's World, and that whole 90-second scene is just, it's pretty good stuff, but I'll just leave it at that. With that being said, Josh, powered by Poddex, what do you value most in your friends?
In my friends, that is interesting because I have a I have a good amount of friends, not as much as I used to, for various reasons. A lot of it is just I appreciate the people that let me be me, and that may not make a lot of sense to most people. But I was around a good crowd that put on, and I have to watch what I say because it'll get out there. But they put on a personality and a face for the camera or for at all times. They are this, that, whatever. And I am not that. Wherever I'm at, whatever I'm on, I am the same SOB that you will meet behind the table at a convention, on a podcast, on a show, on the street. I may try to clean up the language a little bit here and there, depending on where I'm at, and usually I fail at that. But I really appreciate, especially in the last couple of years, of people that just let me be me. And I've gotten some new friends at work, and I will go and do something or be a little weird or do a little something, and I apologize for doing what I do or being what I am. And they look at me weird, like, why are you apologizing? I'm like, oh, well, the people I used to hang out didn't like that. So I really look into people that just let me be me. If I'm in a hyped up mood, they let me be in that hyped up mood, and we have a lot of fun, and they let me create my chaos. If I'm in a pissed off mood and I'm I want to bitch about some stuff, they let me bitch, and we try to work through it and stuff. And that's what I really look forward to. It's just no fake people, just everybody being their real selves and not BSing me, because I have hit that age, and I've really hit that age where I'm just like, I'm done with the BS. Let's be real people. Let's not put on a show, song and dance for somebody, because they're all going to know you're fake anyways.
Fair points. By the way, Kyle Nunez says what he most values in his friends is a twisted sense of humor. Am I right, Josh? That's what Kyle Nunez says. So
That's honestly what my wife and I's relationship is based off of, because we'll be out and about somewhere, and we're both just twisted little creatures, and we'll see something, and we just, to normal people that are outside of us, we'll say something and they just look at us like we have three heads. But her and I will just do our evil chuckles and build onto it, and just, yeah, very twisted sense of humor. That's what my whole branding is based off of.
Really? No kidding. But even so, now we know that technology has grown over time. New devices are being introduced each and every month, if not every year. But the question is, powered by Poddex, what technology do you wish existed?
Oh, that's not out yet?
Yeah.
Man.
What do you think?
There's so much.
Maybe the teleporters from Power Rangers that we never got?
That would be nice. Like, and that kind of goes in with, hopefully I don't mess up a future question, but it almost goes with the same line of, if you could have like a superhero power.
Mm-hmm.
I've always wanted to transport, like, poof, and be somewhere else. I don't want to fly because I'm not a big fan of heights and it still takes a while. But I've always wanted to be able to just stand somewhere, get into something, or have the ability that you just poof and you're somewhere else. Because I live in Florida. I have family up in the Northeast in Ohio, and I have different people everywhere. And even traveling wise, it would be so nice to just go, all right, we need to go here, and be there in a second. So that I think that would be really cool, is some kind of like fast transportation where I can have a little pod here at home and I can go wherever the hell I want to and not have to like fly and do all that stuff.
Kyle has a similar statement. He says, "Beam me up, Scotty."
There we go. See? Yeah, I would just, because we already got, I mean, we're doing it right now. We've got video communication. When I was a kid, that was the futuristic thing. And now when somebody video calls me, I'm like, no. I don't need to see you. I don't need to see your face. I'll just hear your voice. And it's and it freaking works on the watches now too. And my wife's got a watch now that, tells her everything. Like, it tells her how she sleeps, how she breathes. If she's anxious, I'm like, I know you're anxious. I can see it on your face. But yeah, definitely some kind of beaming transportation technology is needed.
There you go. Who knows? Maybe one of these days we'll have a watch or something like, like the things we've seen previously in television, where you hear this voice coming up and saying, "Power Rangers, I need you to teleport to the command center immediately."
As long as I don't have to fight a giant rooster or robot or whatever it is, I'm good. But
you could just fight the putty patrollers in the park, because they always seem to want to go to the park. They never go anywhere else on that show. They always seem to be in the park.
Have you watched? We're on Power Rangers for a quick second. Have you watched like the toys that made us about Power Rangers and how that?
I finally watched the episode concerning the Power Rangers toy line. Yes, I did watch it.
That blew my mind with like how they like created all of it and everything.
Mm-hmm.
Like, just, I'm like, I did not realize how much they took from the Japanese
the Super
show?
Sentai.
Yeah, and I'm like, and they have a lot of parks that you're right. It was always parks, open areas. They're like the Dragon Ball Z of that stuff. It's like, we need to fly over here so we don't.
Gee Willikers, exactly. Kyle Nunez says, "Who takes phone calls anymore? What is this sorcery that you speak of?"
See, and that's where the generation gap is. I text a decent amount, but I'm always on that borderline with the generation stuff. I think it's when I was born, I was right in this line, and I kind of see both sides of stuff. I'm a big texter, but I'm also a phone call person, and especially when it's a lot. I like to, like, if it's an important conversation we need to get through, right, I'll make the phone call. But like, I like texting because I can talk through to somebody like throughout the whole stinking day and not have to have a phone call conversation. So I'm always that borderline guy. But video calls, I can't stand those. I just, if I want to do a video thing, it's like an interview like this or something podcast related. But just videoing, my grandma or something, it's like, nah.
We'll just call you verbally, but we won't actually do a video chat when we're doing this. So which is completely understandable. I'm kind of the same way. I do a lot of texting, very little phone calls, but I still take phone calls personally. It says to me, all right, let's talk about it. Let's actually feel it. Because you can't tell how someone's feeling through a text 9 times out of 10. So
Yeah. It's
a communication thing. It's a communication.
That's why I prefer, like, if I'm doing a podcast type thing, even if it's through online and stuff, and everything's gotten really better in the last couple of years.
Agreed.
But I really prefer being able to see the face, because I do make my shitty jokes. And like, sometimes sometimes it takes a minute for a person to laugh, or you don't really know how they actually feel about something, or you say a certain thing. A face can tell 1,000 things before a word is spoken. So I really like, I can read people, and it's like, okay, I got to back off this, or I can dig into this a little bit more. Because some people, like, you won't get a full laugh. They'll kind of just shake their head. And I know they think it's funny, but they want to keep. I did it to Garrett a lot, because I could see he's laughing, but he's trying not to. So I would go and push the button a little bit more until I got him to actually verbalize the laugh. And that's really hard to do when you're not seeing the people's faces.
That is very true. Kyle Nunez says, when it comes to technology he wish existed, he says, I want a watch that can stop time so I can sleep more, and then it tells me how well I slept after time stopped for 4 days. So
yeah, if there was something, even just something that could help sleeping overall, that would be great.
Don't you think so? That's good for health physically, and it's also good for your mental health, because as someone once said, tend to your mental health garden. Let's just put it that way.
Yeah.
Kyle chimes in. He says, a person has to be very important to me to video call. Slightly less important, I'll call, and everyone else can just text me. According to Kyle.
That's funny. Yeah, I do very little video chats. I think the only time we really do a video chat is like Christmas time with my with the Ohio families. We'll do a video chat and open up stuff. So we're like, doing Christmas together. But other than that, I forget it's a thing. Like, I totally forget that video chatting is useful and available at all times. Totally never think of it. So yeah, it's I think I've video chatted with my brothers a couple of times here and there, and it's always a big group too. I'm never on one-on-one with people, so that's always horrible, because like everybody tries to talk at the same time and you don't get normal conversation for some reason. So yeah, I prefer just phone calls.
Which, not along with that, I do want to take this opportunity to say thank you to our good friends over there at Poddex for powering this episode of And I Quote and presenting us with those questions. With that being said, I do want to take this opportunity to say thank you to Josh Bauer of JBauerArt for being our guest this week on And I Quote. If it weren't for this superstar right here, we wouldn't have the great intro that you may have seen or heard during the course of this episode of And I Quote. So Josh Bauer, thank you for being here. Thank you for creating the incredible, electrifying intro to this show itself, because it speaks to nerd culture as a whole. It speaks to a bit of my personality as a person who loves movies and sports entertainment and all that jazz. So thank you for putting that together for us here, Josh. Now, where can the person watching or listening to this follow you on social media and everything that you have coming up? What do you got?
Of course. So first off, that was a very fun video to make. I loved you put in wrestling stuff and Batman and all kinds of stuff. So I was giddy to play around with it, especially once we broke it all down. I'm like, yes. And then, like, as soon as I knew what I was doing, I had a good time making it. So you're very welcome, and thank you for giving me the opportunity of making that video. So for people that don't know, I am Josh, JBauerArt. JBauerArt is all one word, JBauerArt. Thank God I wrote it down there, because I wouldn't have been able to spell it otherwise. But I am on Instagram, Facebook, Twitter, and TikTok. The TikTok is JBauerArt22, because somebody got a hold of it before I could. But I post videos on there all the time. What's up, Chris Coleman? Good to see you. So you can find me on those. Type in JBauerArt, or just go to jbauerart.com. There's a whole link tree. I made my own fancy little link tree, and you can find the brand new shop. It's fully redone, fresh. If you see some mess ups, please let me know, because as we're recording or doing this, I just made it go live this morning. So if there's any little weird stuff, message me. I'd greatly appreciate it. But you can get paintings, bookmarks, stickers, There's prints left, but they are going fast. Like, I'm actually retiring all prints. So if there's something that you've seen, please let me know. I am going to go online or count all the stuff tomorrow and update all the numbers. But yeah, JBauerArt.com is where you can find everything. Upcoming events for me, if you're in the Central Florida area, you can catch me on October 22nd. It's the Haunted Night Market in Hourglass Brewing in Longwood, Florida. It'll be myself and a bunch of other people over. We're on the Hourglass Brew side, so you can get a beer, you can get some food by one of the food places that are in the strip, and then come down and buy some artwork. I may even be doing some details or deals here and there. And then I'm heading to Melbourne the following weekend, October 29th, for Local Artist Day at Kingdom of Comics. It is a very cool, small comic shop. They actually have a little area in there to get some drinks, a little bar, tons of books. They're having sales. We're going to have a bunch of artists there that day. And then in November, I want to say it's November 19th, is the Bad at Business Beer Fest put on by A Mediocre Time with Tom and Dan podcast. We will be in Sanford, Florida. They take over like 2 blocks. I'll be selling art there. There's going to be free beer. You can buy bigger glasses to get even more beer. There'll be food vendors. We can have a whole good time. And then there's another event. I'm not fully officially signed up for it yet, but it'll be another Melbourne event in December. Follow me on all the social medias. I post where I'm going to be. If you're in the Central Florida area, want to save some money on shipping, when it comes to the big paintings and stuff, shoot me a message and I'll take care of you. If you got any questions, feel free to message me at any time and do all the likes, follows, and shares. I'd greatly appreciate it.
Awesome sauce. And not only that, your good friend Kyle Nunez chimes in. He says, go stalk Josh everywhere. Follow him everywhere. His car, his house, his socials. And remember, Halloween is coming up and he scares easily.
Sadly, he's not wrong on that. But I will say I do hit first and ask questions later. So if you're trying to scare me, you've been warned.
There's Kyle's comment. I love it. Thank you so much for chiming in, Kyle, and everyone who chimed in on this episode of Anti-Quote Josh. Thank you so much for being here. My name is Ryan of Neuroculture. Follow me on Twitter and Instagram at RyanRPM5. Also, check out the links in the description of this video from this episode and past episodes to follow all our guests that we've had here on the show on their social medias, including Josh Bauer. There are links in the description of this video. Also, link to my link tree. You can find all the other shows that I co-host or I'm a part of. I got an online store now. I got merchandise for you to treat yourself. So for anti-quote merch and things of that, exactly. And things of that nature. So definitely check that out and all that stuff. Also, we got a couple of events coming up I'd like to share with you at this particular time. Our next movie anniversary watch along is coming up in a few weeks, and it's going to be about Bond, James Bond. Ooh. Skyfall is turning 10 years old. That's right. Skyfall, starring Daniel Craig as James Bond. We are going to be holding that on Wednesday night, November the 9th, 2022 at 8 p.m. Eastern Standard Time on Facebook and YouTube at It's Neuroculture. Links are in the description of this video once again. So we're going to celebrate like it's 2012, baby, with Bond, James Bond. And a whole host of other events are coming up as well. I want to thank our friends over there at theradbear.com. They got some killer looking swag. Speaking of Power Rangers there, Josh, they got Power Ranger swag. They got the Neverending Story swag. They got anime swag featuring your favorite anime properties like DBZ. I believe another one is called Gundam. Another one is called Voltron, maybe. Something like that. So if you want to check them out, go to theradbear.com. Use the promo code RYAN10. That's RYAN10 for 10% off your order. You know why? Because it's more phenomenal. See what I did there for you, Josh? I did it.
I really like those Power Ranger shirts. I might have to snag one of those. Those are sweet.
Well, they also have added new designs featuring the characters as well, so you may want to look at those too. But once again, that is on theradbear.com. That is the website. That is the place to check them out, and all socials, all that kind of jazz. Also, a really great event is coming up in the month of January, and this is a great, great thing. This is called the Multiverse Fundraiser, presented by Back at the Cereal Box. It is called the Ritter Rally. This is a free virtual convention that you can attend from the comfort of your very own home. We are going to have celebrity guests. We are going to have special panels for aspiring writers or artists and things like that. Other different kinds of panels are going to be held during the course of this event. It's January 20th through the 22nd of 2023. Go to www.the multiversefundraiser.com today for all the information, where to follow us on social media, where all the special things are going to be happening, and this maybe certain announcements are being made, yo. So definitely check that out. It's going to be a great cause. The Ritter Rally, all the monies and the proceeds that we get are going to be donated to the memory of the late, great John Ritter and his family. So check that out, themultiversefundraiser.com. So many wonderful things are happening. So many great events are coming your way very soon on this channel. So follow us on social media. Links are in the description of this video. Don't forget to like, comment, share, subscribe. Smash that notification bell so you get notified when our new videos go up and go live. Once again, And I Quote is on Saturdays, 12 p.m. EST. My goodness. With that being said, it's a lot. It really is. But I will say this. Stay
it's
healthy.
tiring after a while.
It does, doesn't it? But it's a lot of fun because we love doing the show, and we hope that you have enjoyed this episode. Make sure and like and share it with all your friends. Definitely. Like, comment, share, subscribe. And in the meantime, stay healthy, stay strong, stay safe. These are a lot of words. And remember, most importantly, that life is better when reading. Take a look.
Famous Faces and Funnies in Melbourne, Florida is leading the way in pop culture fun. From comic books and graphic novels to Funko Pops and collector's items, Famous Faces and Funnies has it all. Rick Shea and the professional team at Famous Faces and Funnies are friendly and knowledgeable. Whether you're looking for toys, props, collector treasures, or a new comic book, Famous Faces and Funnies is your one-stop shop. To find Famous Faces and Funnies on Facebook and Twitter, just type at FFF Comics.
Sweet dreams they placed on me inside my mind. Chance my truth, twist the past, my memories are fading fast. Am I still missed? You understand? Who do you want me to be? You understand? Am I still missed?
Join author Gary Zeiger for an animatic short film based on his Breakaway Stingray novel series. Watch this animatic short based on the novel Stingray, You Can't Hide Forever at stingrayseries.com. In Stingray, You Can't Hide Forever, Captain Epsilon is putting the band back together to rescue his protege's little sister from the evil conglomerate, while keeping his state-of-the-art warship, Stingray, out of their hands. Watch as the adventure unfolds in the groundbreaking animatic short at stingrayseries.com. Then, join the crew of Stingray with the next novel in the series, Stingray Prophecy, where Captain Epsilon and Dr. Zubre are pivotal players in an ancient prophecy. Can they reunite the people of two worlds before they destroy each other? To learn more, visit stingrayseries.com.
You've worked hard and written a great book. Now, it's time to give it a great cover. If you're an indie author or small press publisher, Plasmafire Graphics is your source for affordable cover illustration and graphic design. Plasmafire Graphics, when the look of your book matters to you.
Good morning! Oh, and in case I don't see you, good afternoon, good evening, and good night.